Welcome to your weekly UAS news update. This is the week of February 15, 2021. This week I got 4 topics, 4 good ones actually. The first one is the DJI FPV drone that's right around the corner, so we're going to talk about some details. I have a question for you. How much meth do you think you can fit on a drone? Well, we'll find out in a few minutes. We'll talk about the Drone Advisory Committee and kind of what we should be looking for. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about a free webinar that I'm going to do on Friday. So let's get to it. And the first thing this week that we have is the new DJI drone, the FPV drone. And everybody's been talking about this FPV drone, and it's finally around the corner, it looks like. We've been seeing more and more photos online, more and more rumors coming around. So it looks like March 2nd is when it's going to be released. And earlier this week, there was a video that surfaced, and it was an unboxing. And as you may know, DJI sends these products to people to review, to give them some YouTube videos, to create some YouTube videos and everything. And this person decided to post the video early. And I'm sure they get a call from DJI because very soon after the video was gone, which I thought was interesting. But in the meantime, people actually downloaded the video and then reposted it on YouTube. So it's still there. We're going to put some clips in here in the background so you can see. But it looks like the drone in itself is a little bit less streamlined than what we've seen with FPV drones. Typical FPV drones are pretty flat, pretty small, and pretty compact. This looks a little bit more bulky. I was actually a little bit disappointed, quite frankly, just looking at the design, but maybe it's just the images. Maybe it is smaller in real life. It looks like it has some sensors in the front, which is actually quite a big deal because, well, FPV drones don't have sensors. FPV drones crash into things, and they're kind of more of the kamikaze of drones, if you want. And so this will be interesting to kind of see. I'm speculating here, just because of the way DJI works, but I'm wondering if DJI actually is going to have a mode for people to learn to fly FPV, which is not really all that simple. If you've come from DJI drones, then it's going to be a steep learning curve. So, DJI tends to make things a little bit easier, a little bit more accessible. So with them breaking into the FPV market, I wonder if there's going to be a beginner's mode maybe where you can use the sensors. This thing is supposed to go pretty fast. I think I read online somewhere it's going to be 95 miles an hour, which is extremely blasting fast. So no sensor is going to work for this kind of speed. So again, it'll be interesting to see what we get in there. The goggles in themselves, looks like we have the new version of their FPV goggle, version 2.0. The guy on the video said that it was actually a little bit lighter. We see also the controller in the video, and the controller looks smaller, much smaller and less bulky than what we see with FPV controllers typically. So it'll be interesting to see. It almost looks like a PlayStation or a type of controller, much smaller, fits in the hand. It looks like the specs are OcuSync 2.0, which is kind of the standard these days for DJI drones. The Mavic series uses OcuSync 2.0, which means 10 kilometers for the distance for the drone. Obviously, line of sight is still an issue here. The interesting part is because it is OcuSync 2.0, it could theoretically be compatible with a smart controller. I don't know that there's much of a need for a smart controller because you can't really see what's going on the screen. So it'll be interesting to see. According to Drone Excel, I put the link down in the article here that you can see, 795 grams, which is not light per se. I think it's roughly the same weight as a Mavic 2 Pro, if I remember correctly. I should have checked on that. About 20-minute flight time, which is actually quite a bit for an FPV drone. 1/2.3-inch sensor, CMOS sensor, which could deliver or should deliver 4K 60 frames per second at 1080 120 frames per second. We don't really know the bitrate just yet, but people are speculating it's going to be 100 megabit per second, which is, again, kind of a standard these days. There's no 3-axis gimbal, which is kind of what you would expect on an FPV drone. Most people put a GoPro on there or an Osmo Action on there. And so the idea is that the stabilization is going to happen in the software and not really in the gimbal in itself. It looks like the gimbal can go up and down based on what I see in the video, but it hasn't really been confirmed. So I put a link down here. You can see some of the videos right here. And yeah, this is it. So March 2nd, we'll try to get one as soon as possible and test it. Don is going to be ready to go and test it. Don has built over 100 drones himself, FPV drones himself. He's been doing this for almost a decade now. So he's going to be the perfect person to tell us, hey, is this really something for beginners? Is this something that, and of course, I'll be testing it myself. I'm not a big FPV flyer, so I tried it a couple times. I'm not ashamed to say it. I love flying the other drones. I also like flying the FPV. I just don't really have the time to dedicate right now to learning a new drone, unfortunately. So, but I'll be testing it to give you kind of the newbie, because that's really what I am with FPV. Okay, next topic is how much meth do you think you can carry on a Phantom 4 DJI Phantom 4 drone? And the answer, it looks like it's less than a kilo, because Border Patrol agents found a drone at the top of a building that was carrying a kilo of meth strapped onto it with duct tape. And that was in San Isidro, which is very close to the border with Mexico. And neighbors have been reporting actually that drones have been flying up and down in that area quite a bit, with people stationed in cars. So it looks like this is not something new. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more surveillance going on in that area now. But just remember what we've been saying in this video for a while now. Don't be that guy. Don't be a UAS hole. That's what we've been saying recently. So the next thing is the Drone Advisory Committee. For those of you that don't know the Drone Advisory Committee, it's a place where people in the industry that have been selected by the FAA meet and share information and come up with changes and recommendations for the FAA. We're lucky, if you've been following us for a while, we're lucky to now have a presence with the DSPA, the Drone Service Provider Alliance. If you haven't seen these episodes yet, go back to a couple months. We interviewed Vic and Kenji, and I talk on a regular basis with at least with Vic, with Kenji a little bit less. But these guys, they're going to be at their first meeting talking about, well, we don't really know actually what the topic is going to be for this meeting, but it'll be interesting to finally have representation. So we'll be tuning in. This is on February 24th from 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be live from the FAA, live streamed, and this is all done via Zoom, so nobody is going to DC in this case. But if you haven't seen the DSPA website, I'm going to plug them in. I don't get any money out of it, but I think it's a good cause. I think these two guys, they really represent the industry. We've seen a lot of big companies on the DAC in the past, and these two spots finally open, and Vic and Kenji both got one, and so they're out there to represent you guys. So go to their website, take a look at what they offer, and they're just a great voice for our industry. Okay, last thing I have this week is on this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be with Teachable. Teachable is a platform that hosts our courses, and they invited us to do a workshop on starting and marketing a drone business. So we have a course, you may or may not know this, but we have it's called Drone Business Made Easy. And this is where I teach you how to start your drone business. I've seen so many people, not just with drones, quite frankly, but with a lot of businesses, starting a business without putting much thought into it. So with my business background, creating companies, running companies, I created this course that kind of helps you start on a very strong basis. And so we'll be talking about what's kind of in the course, but I'll be giving you tips as well. You don't have to buy the course. If you can get some information on this webinar, then that's a good place to start. I'm going to tell you how to find out what drone services you can actually offer. And by the way, I'm not painting a rosy picture like a lot of people do when they sell these courses. There's no snake oil. I'm going to be straight to the point. I'm going to tell you that you're going to fail if you don't do certain things, okay? And that's the reality of things. I don't like to sugarcoat things. And so we'll talk about how you can how much money you can actually realistically make. Again, no snake oil. I'm not going to promise that you're making $1 million. We're going to discover how you can actually find customers and actually keep them. So I get some really good tips that you can use with this. And we'll learn some marketing strategies that can help you stand out from the competition. So I've got a couple tips in there, actionable tips that you guys can do. Actually, the course in itself is filled with like 27 different tips of things that you have to go through in order to create a business plan, create create a marketing plan, create a financial plan, and all these things. It takes a long time to create a business and to do it right. So, okay, I'll stop talking about this, but there's a link down here on Teachable if you want to join me. It's going to be about an hour long, and then at the end of it, it's live. I'll be available to answer some questions. So if you have questions about drone business, just join me, and then I'll do my best to answer. Okay, this is all I have for this week. As always, like, subscribe, comment, leave a nasty comment down there. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Actually, we hardly ever get them. Now I'm saying this, they're going to show up, right? We also have a airplane news update that goes on every week at the same time. This week over there, I'm actually talking about the Learjet. If you guys are familiar with Learjet, they're ending production. So we're going to talk about what that means and kind of how it works. We'll talk about how airplanes can actually create snow. If you guys are struggling in the course with the weather section, join over there because this is a really cool phenomenon. And then we'll talk about the pilot hiring and kind of how it looks like it's actually finally turning back into the positive. So join me over there. And then as always, fly safe and don't be a UA asshole. All right, that's all I have. See you guys.